Hello everyone, welcome back. Welcome back. I changed it up a little bit. I don't have like a big white light on me like I usually do. I have orange lighting. If you guys hate this, please let me know, but I have orange lighting right now because it is officially October. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, it's October. So obviously that means that it is time for a September wrap up and an October TBR. Let's do the wrap up first as usual. We are going to go from the first book that we read. Sorry, I'm flipping them around because I had them stacked the opposite way. But we are going to be reading. We are going to be going from the first book that I read in September to the last book that I read in September. So the first book that we read in September was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I loved this book. This book was the best book that I had read in such a long time. I read this in the reading the book that's been on my TBR for the longest video, and I really hate that it has taken me so long to get to this book. But this book follows Addie, and she has a really rough time because she wants to be able to know people. She wants to meet people. She wants to just continue to know people, but she is continuously having one-night stands because people forget her, and it's just completely, absolutely devastating. And I fell in love with Addie so hard. I loved her so much. And there is a movie adaptation, I believe, so I do kind of want to go in and watch that. I will let you guys know how I like that over on Instagram. But yeah, the next book that we read this month was The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. This was the banned book video that I had last month because it's now October. But this book is insane. This follows Hester and Arthur and Roger and Pearl, and so many characters take such a large role in this book. But this one has a introduction about witchcraft and things like that, so I really do highly recommend going in and reading that first. But The Scarlet Letter is a Puritan New England. This is basically Hester and Pearl are ostracized because Hester has the Scarlet Letter. But the best thing happens in this book because the way that the world moves ended up changing what the Scarlet Letter meant, and the way that Hester was able to rebrand herself as this strong leader of a woman. It was just amazing. I loved this book. I highly recommend reading banned books, and I do recommend going in and reading like cliff notes and academic notes and things like that after you finish a chapter, because it is very important that you're understanding what you're reading. So I highly recommend going back in and reading cliff notes and stuff after you've finished a chapter. Then we read another banned book. I loved it so much. I love this book. It's literally the best thing on the entire planet. We all know the perks of being a wallflower. We all know Charlie, love Charlie, adore Charlie, want the best for Charlie, and I have the 20th anniversary edition, so there was a new letter at the end from Charlie, and it really just punches me right in the chest every single time I read this book. This book follows Charlie, and Charlie is in high school, and he loses his best friend to, and a lot of grief is dealt with in this book, and we follow Charlie throughout school and throughout his time and what his family goes through and we just really follow Charlie down to the bones because these are letters from Charlie. So I highly recommend you read this, and if you're not a book reader, hi, I hope you are gathering books that you would like to read. But there's also a fantastic movie adaptation, and yeah, this is just a fantastic book, of course. Then we're getting into our fall reads, and that was Pumpkin Spice and Everything Nice by Katie Cicatelli-Kuc. This follows Lucy and Jack, and they live in Briar Glen. Yeah, Briar Glen. I always want to say Briar Rose, but like, anyway, so this follows Lucy and Jack, and they live in a very small town, and Lucy and her mom run a small coffee shop named Cup of Joe, and they have been running this since Lucy was a child. She's never not known this store, and they get a new student at her school, and his name is Jack. And we find out that Jack may have a big part in how Lucy and her mom are going to feel throughout the rest of the book. And so, yeah, pretty much Lucy is convinced that Jack and his family move across the street to open up this coffee shop as a way to sabotage their coffee shop. So we spend the entire book following Jack and Lucy, well, Lucy having animosity towards Jack, and Jack trying to convince Lucy that he didn't know. They didn't know, and they're not trying to sabotage each other. So this book was really cute. I highly recommend this one. And then we read Fall into Temptation by Lucy Score. This one follows Beckett and Gianna. My head. But this follows Beckett and Gianna is a single mom to 2 children. She's got a almost preteen, and then she's got a little baby girl. And Beckett is the do-all be-all of this town. So he tries to get to know Gianna, and he ends up falling in love with her children. And so that ends up causing him to fall in love with her. And I have a video on reading this book, and I mentioned in that video that this book was going so well until the conflict happened. And I always say that I love Lucy Score books until the conflicts, because the conflicts are always so childish and just not worth the fight that is happening. And so yeah, the conflict kind of pulled me out of the story because of how childish it was, and with the fact that Gianna and Beckett are my age or older, I think. I'm pretty sure they're older, and there are children involved in their lives, so why are they acting like that? But yeah, the conflict was just really childish, but the resolution to the conflict really gave me the extra half rating. So I really did love that book, and I would highly recommend it. But yes, it follows Gianna and Beckett, and Gianna is really just down on her luck, and she really needs some help because her hands are just so full. Everything is just too much for her to do by herself. And yeah, this book is so good. But yeah, I really hated the conflict. And then the last book that we read, well, technically the last book that we read this last month, was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. So Bride follows Misery and Lo, and their relationship is kind of odd. And what I mean by that is that Misery is a vampire and Lo is a werewolf, and they don't get along. They really don't get along. But something happens, and Misery's father marries her off to Lo, and she ends up sparking a relationship with Lo's little sister, so he ends up protecting her to protect his sister, and I really loved this book. I don't want to try, I'm trying not to spoil anything because I really could talk about this book for a very long time. Oh yeah, I remember that there was also a mystery element into this, and I don't read the back of books very often, but the mystery element was that her best friend Serena just like disappears out of nowhere. So she like willingly goes into this marriage because she wants to investigate. So this book was fantastic. I loved this book, but Ali Hazelwood is an auto buy for me every single time. So I'm kind of biased, but I loved this book and I cannot wait for Mate to come out. But let's get into October's TBR. In October, I have a very advantageous TBR once again. I'm definitely not getting to all of these, but we're gonna try. So we are going to be reading Dracula. I'm so excited to read Dracula. I've read Dracula many times before, but I do just love reading like a classic gothic situation. Sorry, I was taking off my shoes. My feet were going numb. Because I was sitting in a weird position. But anyway, I am very excited to reread Dracula this month because, I mean, it's the spooky season. Then I want to read Northanger Abbey. But Northanger Abbey is just, it calls to me every single fall, and I didn't get to it last year, so I definitely want to get to it this year. Then we're going to be reading Wuthering Heights. Of course we're reading Wuthering Heights. I'm kind of going for all of the classics this month, I think, is what my vibe for the season is the classics. Classic, dark, academia vibes. I want to be spooked, but like in a good way, if that makes sense. I don't think that makes sense, but I'm gonna pretend that it does. And then I want to read The Raven. Of course I want to read The Raven. Who doesn't want to read The Raven? I mean, Edgar Allan Poe is just literally fall. He is literally October. Then I want to read Rebecca. Of course, it's time to read Rebecca. And once again, all of the classics pretty much are the ones that are on my TBR. The Picture of Dorian Gray, another classic that I am so excited to read again. I read this one a really long time ago, but I don't really remember much about that book, so I definitely 100% want to read The Picture of Dorian Gray. I keep blinding myself, but I love a good like witchy vibe, and that's kind of another vibe I'm going for. Witchy, spooky, black cat energy is what I'm going for. So I want to read Aura, and the reason I said black cat energy is because, well, obviously. I'm really excited to read this one. I'm pretty sure it's a short story, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken. If I'm mistaken, I'll let you know. And then I want to read Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore. I'm literally so obsessed with Laurie Gilmore right now, which goes into the next book, which is Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. I am partially through that one right now, but I am obsessed once again with her writing, so of course I'm going to be adding some more of those to my list. And then this is the only book that I have physically, which is When the Curtain Rises by Rachel Dunstan Muller. It is once again a very short book, but with that being said, these are the books that we read in September, and these are the books that we want to read in October. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up, make sure you leave a comment downstairs, Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.